What is up? We're here with your post-week 3 NFL teams tier list. This is after Monday Night Football, which included the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. And we are going to be ranking every single team 32 all the way up to number 1. As you can see on the screen, these are my rankings from week 2. This is post week 2 rankings before week 3. This is what we had last week. I'm going to try to do this every week, get the list that I had from the prior week up there. And yeah, this is what we had last week. There's going to be so many changes this week. I mean, the whole thing just flips around. Every single week things change in the NFL, and it's pretty great, especially early in the year. There's a lot of changes. Alright, and we are back. We had just cleared the tier list. We're going to do this straight from scratch. This is week 3 tier list. All NFL teams ranked. Let's get right on into it. Alright, and to start off the maybe next year tier, this is going to be the worst team in the NFL. I said week 1. There's no other team that can go there other than the Jacksonville Jags. But I was wrong. The New York Jets. I'm sorry, Jets fans. And I'm not sorry about this placement. I'm more sorry that y'all are this bad. I mean, the New York Jets are just struggling, man. Zach Wilson cannot get it going at quarterback. The whole offense is nullified. Granted, they've been playing some good teams, but I mean, come on. I don't see this getting any better anytime soon. New York Jets are the number 32. Number 31 will be the Jacksonville Jags. We moved them up 1 ranking. They showed some life against the Arizona Cardinals. They really did. They showed some life up until late in that game. Jamal Agnew returned the 68-yard field goal attempt that landed in the back of the end zone. He returned it for 109 yards, by the way. Gave them some life. They had some moments in this game, but they could not pull it off against the Arizona Cardinals. Jacksonville's going to be 31. They moved up, and congrats to them. I never thought it would happen. Not this season, at least. Next up, they're going to be moving down from where they were last week. The New York Giants. Oh, man. The New York Football Giants, huh? They just can't win a game this year. This loss was a little tougher, considering it came from the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, they lost with the last-second field goal by the Falcons. Saquon got a touchdown in this game. I appreciate that, Saquon, for fantasy purposes. But, yeah, no, the Giants had to move down from where they were last week. They can't win a game. Daniel Jones has looked pretty good early on, but they just can't put it together. Next on the tier list, moving way down, especially from where we ranked them going into the season, it's the Indianapolis Colts. Man, the Colts are struggling. They can't win a game either. Carson Wentz looked buns last week, coming off those double ankle sprains. Jonathan Taylor can't get going. Quentin Nelson, their best offensive lineman, goes down last week. It's going to be a tough uphill climb for the Colts. They have the number 1 hardest schedule up until week 5, I believe. And then week 6 on, they have the easiest schedule in the NFL. So we'll see how this turns out. The Colts might be in real trouble this season. Right now, they're in bottom tier for sure. Next up, another team falling down. It is the Chicago Bears. And this is more so as of right now. Like their situation as a whole. Andy Dalton still don't know if he's going to play. Justin Fields struggled majorly last week against the Browns. He got sacked 9 times. Maybe more. Was it 9? I think it was 9 times. And, I mean, that O-line can't give him protection. He's holding on to the ball too long. Eyeing down one receiver. The Bears are just struggling. Their whole situation is so tough right now. They don't know who they're going to start at quarterback next week. They've got to get something going. I mean, Matt Nagy, come on, man. Come on, man. The Bears, bottom tier. Sorry, Bears fans. Next in this tier, we have the drum roll, Houston Texans. They're 1-2. And I mean, they were almost 2-1. Tyrod Taylor got knocked out of that game against the Browns. They were looking so good up until that point. Tyrod Taylor was looking to lead them to 2-0, but he got injured. And then they play Thursday night against the Carolina Panthers. CMC goes down, and they keep it a close game. I mean, Davis Mills, he got thrust out there in an unfortunate situation. They lost to the Panthers. They're 1-2. They got to go in bottom tier, but man, they were looking so promising with Tyrod Taylor out of nowhere. What a shocker. I don't get it. Next up, and this will be the last team, I think, that I'm going to throw in bottom tier. It is going to be the Detroit Lions, and I hate saying it so much. But look, 0-3, 0-3, 0-3. The Lions, they're not the worst 0-3 team. I think they top off this tier right here. They've been struggling. They almost beat the Ravens last week. They won the first half against the Green Bay Packers. And they came back against the Niners backups. I get it. But they're 0-3. They showed promise against the Ravens, but really that was just the Ravens looking bad. Detroit's defense did some things in that game, though. And then Justin Tucker kicks a 66-yarder to win the game off the crossbar. Craziness. Bottom tier for Detroit. And then, I think we're going to move up to the next tier. We're going to go ahead and throw the Falcons up. They got their win. Now, the Falcons have promise. I don't know why, but they do. Their offense has so many, their offense has potential. They have some weapons. They have a weird scheme. Cordero Patterson is getting the ball a ton. It's working out. It's mixing things up. But if they could just put things together, I mean, they could win a couple games this year, They could win 5 games this year. We'll see how it goes. They've played some tough competition. They played the Giants last week, which isn't tough at all. They beat them last second field goal. I mean, who knows? Maybe they missed the field goal, the Giants win that game, and then they're flipped, One of those things. Next on this list will be the Miami Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins started off 1-0 against the Patriots. We had them right in the middle of playoff hopeful mid-tier. But ultimately, I mean, they lost their last 2 games. They got routed by the Bills. And then they lose this week to the Raiders in overtime. Made it close. Jacoby Brissett actually came into the game, got them into a close game. Mike Gesicki was kind of going off. They did pretty well. But they got to go down here. Maybe they can work their way back up. We'll see how it goes for the Dolphins. Next on this tier list is the Washington football team. Where they at? Here y'all are. Washington football team. Now, they looked awful. They played the Bills. They got absolutely destroyed. But, things happen. I understand. I get it. It was a tough game for them, though, man. Tough game for the football team. Next up, we got the New England Patriots. The Patriots in the lower tiers is so crazy to me, but it has to be done. It has to be done. I mean, they just can't produce on offense the way that they need to. James White is out for a long time, it looked like, after that hip injury. Their offense looks stale. Mac Jones, he has some weapons to throw it to. He has a lot of different looks. He has a lot of looks out there to throw to, but I mean, he's efficient for the most part, but they just can't get anything done with it. Their defense is great, though. Patriots have a great defense. I will give them that. But yeah, they're 1-2, and they're in this tier right here, right above the football team. Next up, they played on Monday night, is the Philadelphia Eagles. They looked not so great against the Cowboys. Their offense wasn't looking good. Jalen Hurts threw 2 picks, had a pick 6. Their defense early in the game made Dak fumble, though, in the end zone. Recovered it for a touchdown. But yeah, they just couldn't keep up with the Cowboys' offense. The Cowboys put up a lot of points on them. They ran all over them. Dak was efficient. And the Eagles really struggled on defense. Next up, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Wow. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. I'm pretty sure my initial rankings for the season, they were up here post week 1 after they beat the Bills. And now they're just all the way down here. But it has to be done. Big Ben looks awful. Big Ben. it's time to call it, I think, man. And I'm not trying to hate, but I think it's that time. Najee Harris gets the ball nearly every single play. He doesn't have an O-line to help him out. Their defense is okay, but what good is it if you're on the field the whole time because your offense can't produce? Juju went down with an injury. Deontay Johnson was out last week. It was a tough one. The Steelers got to go down here. Sorry, Steelers. Next on this list, moving on up a little bit, is the Minnesota Vikings. Now the Vikings look pretty good, man. Pretty good. They beat the Seattle Seahawks last week. Really, I mean, they should have beat the Arizona Cardinals. They missed a field goal from 30-something yards. The week before that, they lost in overtime to the Bengals after a late fumble. The Vikings could be 3-0. They're 2 plays away from being 3-0. It's crazy. And I was saying that last week. I was like, this is a team that could definitely move on up. Kirk Cousins is playing great football, especially fantasy football-wise. They have the receivers to throw to. Dalvin Cook, if he can get healthy, going to be a weapon. Alexander Mattison, in the meantime, looked great out of the backfield. Mike Zimmer, still a really good head coach. And, yeah, Vikings moving up. Next on this tier will be the Cincinnati Bengals, who defeated the Minnesota Vikings week 1. Now the Bengals defeated the Pittsburgh Steelers 24-10. They made the Steelers offense look listless. I mean, as we explained earlier, the Steelers did not look good. But the Bengals won. Jamar Chase got another touchdown. That combination with him and Joe Burrows is looking dangerous. Now we're going to go ahead and split the tier list right here. And this is kind of like the midpoint of the tier list, where I think things really start turning over for the positive. And first I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos. And now, I know that the Broncos are 3-0, but the 3 teams that they have played are a combined 0-9 on the season. 0-9. The teams they've played haven't won a game. They're 3-0, and they look pretty good doing it. You know, I'm not going to hate on them. It's not their fault that the teams they play haven't won their other matchups. But they're playing efficient offense with Teddy Bridgewater. You have Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams in the backfield doing work. You've had injuries at the receiver, which is tough, you know. Jerry Jeudy out for weeks now. He's going to be out a few more weeks even. You had Hamler going down with the ACL tear. I mean, tough injuries at the receiving core. Noah Fant's going to have to step up. Tim Patrick's going to have to step up. And Courtland Sutton's going to have to play like a stud out there. But yeah, the Broncos 3-0. They're going to go into the playoff hopeful tier. I think that's a perfect place to open up this tier. And we'll move on straight to the next team, actually. Another 3-0 team, the Carolina Panthers. Now, the Panthers have had some favorable matchups. Now, they did defeat the Saints, the New Orleans Saints. That's a good win. They made them look pretty bad. They made their offense look bad. But yeah, the Panthers' defense is just playing lights out right now. They're playing phenomenal on that side of the ball. Christian McCaffrey did go down with a hamstring injury. That's something to keep an eye on. He's going to be out for at least a week or two, I'd assume. He wasn't thrown onto the IR. We'll see how that all plays out. But yeah, the Panthers have Sam Darnold playing good football. DJ Moore playing good football. We'll see if Chuba Hubbard can come in and play some relief for Christian McCaffrey out there. And yeah, the Carolina Panthers 3-0. I think this is a good spot for him on this tier list. Now, we have the Seattle Seahawks. And y'all are probably thinking, why are there 1 and 2 teams ahead of the 3-0 teams? And I mean, ultimately, it's just because they started the year up here. And I know the Steelers did too, but they're clearly just not as good of a team as the Seahawks are. But yeah, if teams are all the way up here, they're not going to fall all the way down right away. Seahawks worked their way to this tier last week. They're going to be in this tier this week. They really need to turn some things around over there in Seattle. We got to get Russ cooking. We got to get DK going. We got to keep Lockett healthy. Got to keep Chris Carson healthy. Got to play better defense, ultimately, is what it comes down to. Next up, we have the New Orleans Saints. Saints fans are probably like, really? You have us above the Panthers? Panthers fans are probably pissed about this. But yeah, I just think the Saints are a better team. They looked really good this week against the Patriots. The Saints defense is just so solid. Their offense is struggling. But they got a good coaching staff. I think they can definitely produce this year. And yeah, they're sitting right here. Next on up, we have the Tennessee Titans. Now the Titans coming out looking way better than they did week 1. Of course, last week they defeated the Seahawks. Derrick Henry went off. Derrick Henry over 100 rushing yards this week. Ryan Tannehill finally got some touchdown passes thrown. But yeah, Tennessee looks overall pretty solid. Ooh, next up, I think I'm going to change the rankings I have already put down. I think I'm going to do it. We're going to throw the Los Angeles Chargers right here. Now, I was originally going to throw another team right here, but I think we're just going to move the Chargers down one and move that team up one. The Chargers look pretty good. I mean, Justin Herbert was finally going off this week. Austin Eckler, always active. Mike Williams turning out to be a true stud receiver. Keenan Allen on the other side, always been a stud. And yeah, the Chargers look really solid. Defense looking pretty good too this week. So I think their place right here is definitely a good spot for them. Next up, we have the Las Vegas Raiders, who I had below the Chargers, but I'm going to throw them above them. They are currently tied for the lead in their division with the Denver Broncos. You have 3 of this division right here. Solid division this year. The Raiders undefeated, 3-0. Had a close matchup against the Miami Dolphins. Went to overtime. They ended up winning. They have some good wins this year. For example, Baltimore. And yeah, shout out to the Raiders. Derek Carr playing great football. If they can get Josh Jacobs healthy. Peyton Barber looked good last week. I see you, Peyton Barber. Next up, though, on this tier list, we have the Dallas Cowboys. Man, the Cowboys are looking really good. They lost that week 1 matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was a shootout. It was a close game. They had the lead. The Bucs kick a last-second field goal to win the game. And then Dallas goes 2-0 after that, defeating the Eagles this week. And last week, defeating the Chargers. I mean, that Chargers game, that's a good win for them. And the Eagles is a pretty good win as well. I think the Eagles are a decent football team. They have a pretty good defense, and Dallas just made their defense not look good at all. Dak Prescott, really efficient the past few weeks throwing the football. They got Zeke running. They're feeding Zeke. They're feeding Pollard. Once they get Michael Gallup back, get Amari Cooper fully healthy, this team is looking really primed for a good playoff run this year. And you know what, actually? I think we're going to move Dallas up here. Dallas is going in the A tier. I really thought about it, and yeah, Dallas got to go up there. Next up, we have the Baltimore Ravens. They are 2-1. They had that comeback win against the Kansas City Chiefs. And then they barely defeated the Detroit Lions this week. That was unspeakable. They arguably could have lost that game. I mean, yeah, the Ravens, I don't know, man. They had struggles this week. I said last week if they got a good win and we know I would move them up to the S tier, but I just can't do that after that performance against the Lions. And it's nothing against the Ravens. They're a great football team, but I do think that I have to leave them right here for now. Don't get that mistaken. I mean, all the teams in these top 2 tiers are top 10 teams in the league. Dallas being number 10, the Ravens being number 9. It's not a bad spot to be. And also coming out of that division, the Cleveland Browns. We'll throw the Browns right ahead of the Ravens. They're also in that same division with the Bengals and the Steelers as well. Yeah, the Browns playing solid football. Pretty good defense last week against the Chicago Bears, who looked horrible. Their D-line was getting all over Justin Fields. Odell Beckham Jr. was back. Jarvis Landry's out for a few weeks. Once they get him back, I mean, their offense is looking pretty good. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt carrying the ball, doing things out of the backfield. Cleveland looking really good this year. I have high hopes for them, actually, this year. And yeah, they're sitting pretty right here. Coming in at number 7 on our power rankings, it is the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm probably going to get hated. They probably see all these teams right here, and they're like, how are the Chiefs ahead of them? I know they're 1-2. They had that crazy loss to the Ravens where the Ravens came back after a Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumble. They had 4 turnovers against the Los Angeles Chargers this week. But I still have hope for the Chiefs. They defeated the Cleveland Browns in week 1 in a close game as well, where they had to come back and show some heart in that game. But they have so many weapons on offense. Their defense has to tighten things up. If their defense can get things straight, this team is still a Super Bowl contender. No doubt about it. But yeah, the Chiefs are going down a tier at least this week. And then last, I think to top off this A tier will be the San Francisco 49ers. They are now 2-1. This week they played the tough Green Bay Packers. They almost came back in that game. They lost by 2 points. The Packers had a last-second field goal from 51 yards. The Niners looked good in that game. They got a solid defense. I know it didn't show considering they gave up 30 points, but that's against the Packers. They need to keep George Kittle involved. They need to keep Debo involved. They need to get Ayuk involved. They need to get their running backs healthy. And yeah, San Francisco's looking pretty good so far this year. Next up, I think we're going to start the top tier, is the Green Bay Packers, who, like we just mentioned, just defeated the San Francisco 49ers. Packers are looking way better after that week 1 loss that they had, where they looked horrible. They have came back and won 2 straight games in a row against the Lions and the 49ers. And yeah, their offense just looks great. Aaron Rodgers looking back to form. Packers are going to top tier. Next up, we have the Arizona Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals almost lost last week to the Minnesota Vikings. They pulled through, and then they had a close matchup this week as well against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But, you know, they're winning these games. They look a lot more, they look like they have a lot more potential than these 2 3-0 teams, in my opinion. And yeah, Kyler Murray's having himself a season, throwing it to all of his weapons. Yeah, Cardinals looking solid at 3-0 this year. Coming in at number 3, you can probably guess it, the Buffalo Bills, looking incredible in their weeks 2 and 3 performances against the Miami Dolphins and the Washington football team, respectfully. I mean, their offense is just going crazy right now. Josh Allen is going full MVP candidate mode. They're mixing it around to everybody on the field. Zach Moss, Devin Singletary, Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley. I mean, come on, man. You know, they're mixing the ball around well. Their defense is playing lights out. Shout out to the Buffalo Bills. But there's no way that I can put them ahead of these 2 teams. Moving down from number 1 to number 2, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yes, that's right. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are moving down. Obviously, they lost this week to the Los Angeles Rams. Before this, they were looking great. They beat the Cowboys. Last week, beat the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah, they lost this week. It was the Rams had control of that game. But we can't take too much away from it. There were some injuries. We had Antonio Brown out due to COVID protocol. Gronk got injured in the middle of the game. He came back in, but yeah, they lost to what looked like the best team in the NFL, the Los Angeles Rams, who looked incredible on offense, defense. They've looked so good this year. Matthew Stafford is lighting it up. MVP candidate. I was saying it before the season as a longtime Lions fan. Let's get Matthew Stafford a ring. It's his year, and I have high hopes for this Los Angeles Rams team, and it hurts me as a Seahawks fan as well to say that, and a Lions fan. Oh, I don't want to turn over to a Rams fan. Don't make me. But seriously, they look incredible. Cooper Kupp is doing phenomenal. Him and Matthew Stafford have a great connection. Stafford and head coach Sean McVay have a great connection. Sean McVay bringing that energy at halftime, by the way. They showed him going nuts at halftime when they were leading the Bucs, and then they showed his statistic of never losing a game after halftime, or after leading at halftime. I think it was like 50-0 or something crazy. But yeah, LA Rams, number 1 for this week. Shout out to the Rams. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this tier list for week 3. It was all of the NFL teams ranked in order from best to worst, or worst to best. We worked our way on up. And yeah, I will be back next week for my week 4 power rankings / tier list. Yeah, if you guys see anything that you would change, leave a comment below. Let me know what you would change. Let me know what I maybe got wrong. Remember, it's just my opinion. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. It would mean a lot. Thank you everybody for watching, and I'll see y'all next week with another tier list. Deuces.